Imagine you're at the supermarket and the price of your snack goes up by 20%. Do you still buy it or do you switch to something else? This simple question gets to the heart of two of the most important ideas in microeconomics: price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply. In this video, we'll break them down step by step, look at real-world examples, and learn how to use them in IB economics evaluations. Let's start with price elasticity of demand, or PED. Price elasticity of demand measures how responsive the quantity demanded of a good is to a change in its price. Formally, the formula is price elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in price. If price elasticity of demand is bigger than 1, then the demand is elastic and consumers are very responsive to price changes. If the price elasticity of demand is smaller than 1, then demand is inelastic and consumers don't respond much to price changes. And finally, if the price elasticity of demand is equal to 1, it's unit elastic. Now, a few examples are luxury goods like designer handbags, which usually have elastic demand. Thus, if the price rises, people cut back quickly. Necessities like insulin or bread tend to be inelastic. Thus, even if prices rise, people still buy them because they are necessities. Now, the IB loves to test this by linking it to determinants of price elasticity of demand. For example, some of the determinants are availability of substitutes, necessity versus luxury, proportion of income spent on the good, and the time period considered. For instance, in the short run, petrol demand is inelastic because people still need to commute. But in the long run, demand becomes more elastic as consumers switch to public transport or electric cars. Now let's turn to price elasticity of supply, or its acronym PES. Price elasticity of supply measures how responsive the quantity supplied of a good is to a change in price. The formula is very similar, and its price elasticity of supply is equal to a percentage change on quantity supplied divided by the percentage change in price. If the price elasticity of supply is bigger than 1, then the supply is elastic, and producers can quickly increase output when prices rise. If the price elasticity of supply is smaller than 1, then the supply is inelastic and producers struggle to change production quickly. Think about strawberries. In the short run, supply is inelastic because farmers can't instantly grow more. Now compare that to, for example, smartphone apps, where supply is very elastic as developers can release more copies, basically almost instantly at very little cost. The determinants of the price elasticity of supply include: number 1, spare capacity in production, mobility of factors of production, ability to store stock, and the time period considered. Once again, the time dimension is crucial. Short-run supply is often inelastic, but in the long run, firms can adjust their production capacity. So, why do price elasticity of demand and price of elasticity of supply even matter in economics? Well, for governments, price elasticity of demand helps predict the impact of indirect taxes. If demand is inelastic, a tax on cigarettes or petrol raises lots of revenue because consumers keep buying despite higher prices. But if the demand is elastic, a tax might backfire and consumers may just stop buying. For businesses, understanding PED helps with pricing strategy. A firm selling a product with inelastic demand can raise prices and increase revenue. But for elastic goods, lowering prices might actually raise revenue since quantity demanded rises sharply. With price elasticity of supply, governments use it to understand how quickly industries can adjust. As an example, when global oil prices rise, OPEC's ability to expand production determines whether prices stabilize or keep climbing. Let's look at some real-world examples you could use in your IB essays. An example of price elasticity of demand is the UK sugar tax in 2018, which raised the price of sugary drinks. Now, demand fell significantly, showing that soft drinks have relatively elastic demand, especially since water and sugar-free alternatives are available. An example of price elasticity of demand that is inelastic are cigarettes, which remain in demand despite price increases. Evidence of inelastic demand, which is why governments love taxing cigarettes, since they'll always raise revenue for the government. An example of the price elasticity of supply is during the COVID-19 pandemic, the supply of ventilators was extremely inelastic in the short run. Factories couldn't instantly produce enough. Over time, supply became more elastic though, as production lines shifted. And an example of a price elasticity of supply that is elastic are digital goods like Netflix subscriptions, which have highly elastic supply, which scaling up to millions of new users is almost instant and is very easy and adjustable. In IB economics, you won't just define price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply. You'll evaluate their usefulness. Price elasticity of demand is powerful, but it assumes ceteris paribus, which means other factors remain constant. In reality, consumer behavior is influenced by advertising habits and income, which makes precise calculations quite tricky. Similarly, price elasticity of supply assumes producers can instantly adapt. But in reality, many end industries face rigidities. For instance, agricultural supply is at the mercy of weather conditions, which make elasticity unpredictable. So, in exams, always balance the usefulness of elasticity concepts with their limitations and real-world complexities. So, to recap, price elasticity of demand measures how responsive consumers are to price changes, while price elasticity of supply measures how responsive producers are to changes. Both of these concepts are central to understanding markets, government policy, and business strategy. In IB economics, link them to real-world examples and always include both diagrams and evaluation in your answer. That's what gets you into the top bands and the top marks that you truly want. Thank you for watching the video and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.